a world where we have everything and it's still not enough, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there's more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old push your way through and claim the deeper, more meaningful life that's calling you.
That's what we invite you to explore with us.
We're your hosts,
Stephanie Allen
and Maren. And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Yay! Hi, welcome to the Soulful Leader Podcast. This is Stephanie, and I'm here with Maren. And I've got to say, this is a special podcast because it celebrates, and we're going to explore an interesting time of the year. Not only is it fall, but one of my favorite things to celebrate is Halloween, or Hallows Eve and All Saints Day. And I'm going to take it from a different look, more from a soulful leader kind of look, rather than just kind of an everyday event that children get dressed up and go out and, knock on strangers' doors and ask them to give them candy. There's a deeper meaning. And I know some of it is from kind of a religious background or a pagan background, but we're going to take it to another whole level. Wouldn't you say that, Maren?
I would, and I love that there's a link. There is a direct link between soulful leadership and Halloween. That excites me.
100%. Because, November 1st is All Souls Day or All Saints Day, and All Hallows Eve is Halloween. So it's when the veil between the light and the dark is very, very thin.
So let's unpack that a little bit, because when we say there's a direct link between soulful leadership and All Hallows Eve, Halloween, what we now call it, and you mentioned dark and light, that seems like, where does that fit? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, there's this is Carl Jung sort of work in the way of that, that which you do not, explore. What he says, if you don't explore your shadow, you marry it. And that always fascinated me, because it's like, well, first of all, what does that mean? If I don't bring forth my shadow from within me to look at it, then I actually marry the person who's holding my shadow. What I'm saying is that we are everything. We are the hologram of the whole planet. So whatever it is that you don't like outside of you, whether it's a politician, whether it's a person that is in your life that's a client or a relative, someone that irritates the shit out of you, it's in you. It's in you. So it's like when we say I'm this and not that, it's bullshit, because we're actually all of it. So anything that you love or find beautiful also is also in you. So when you see someone, you go, oh my God, I just love them. They're so lovely. They're so talented, or they're so good at this. And well, that's also in you. You wouldn't be able to see it unless it was in you. And that old saying of the shadow is like when you point your finger to the person who's the pain in the ass, and you're like, I don't like you, and the finger is going outward towards them. There's three pointing back at you, because it is a projection of what you may be suppressing inside. And that doesn't mean that you're acting the same as that person, but you may be acting internally with yourself around that, if that makes sense. So that's what I mean by shadow.
So what I'm hearing is that, like, the veil between the light and the dark,
right?
Maybe it's easiest to see the deeper levels. And we can look at Halloween as the surface level candy and, dressing up and having fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's also this opportunity for us to go to that deeper level, and the veil, quote unquote, like the it's like, instead of having closed drapes, you have like shears on the window.
Right.
And it's a little easier to see that, oh, that's also me. Mm-hmm. That's not just that person out there. That's also me. Whether it's somebody that I love, that I think is amazing, or if it's somebody that I'm like, oh my God, that person bugs the shit out of me. They're all me.
Mm-hmm. They're all me. And so when we say if we don't look at our shadow and bring it forth, then we marry it. It means like you don't really know somebody until you fight with them. Like you might be friends with somebody forever and you think they're the greatest thing. Then all of a sudden you have a fight and you're like, wow, what happened to them? Like they just went off the rocker. That's what happens. And so when people get in relationships and they go, yeah, we have such we never fight. I would either say one of a couple things. Either one, you're totally in denial and you're not going underneath the surface to go deep enough because fighting is neither good or bad or right or wrong. It's just that you're on an edge and of your uncomfortable zone. So you're actually growing and evolving. So I'd say if you're not fighting, either you're doing your shadow work really well, you're working with your own internal conflict and bringing it to the relationship and transcending that relationship, or you're totally in denial,
And
basically.
given how much or how little we actually talk about shadow and going into that deeper level of work,
Hmm.
for most of us, I think it's the denial.
Yeah, most of us it is. And I think if we looked at, boy, everything that irritates me and everything that I love and find beautiful is also in me, I think we would treat ourselves and each other a heck of a lot better.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think we would make more space to go in and look at this. So this comes back to Halloween. Like,
Right.
it's such a great opportunity to practice this, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're a leader in the community, or running your own business. This is a great opportunity to go to the light and the dark. Meaning, if there's something inside of you that you just know, so here's an example. It's like, I want to go for a dream. I have this ideal in my life, and every part of me inside of me is going, are you freaking crazy? There's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough energy. There's like this curmudgeon little witch inside of me that has cast
Mm.
a curse of spells to say, whatever you do, you're going to sabotage it. Right. So here's what I could do on Halloween. And I've done this since I was a child. I love doing this, is that I would literally say, okay, for this Halloween, I'm going to be that witch. I'm going to have that pointed nose. I'm going to have that freaking pointed hat. I'm going to be like pointing the finger and waving it at everybody. And I'm going to curse and I'm going to do this. And because I want to bring that to the light, because I don't want to
Mm.
keep living it anymore. Because there's a cost of, if you keep living that witch or that curmudgeon or that whatever that is inside of yourself that you keep trying to stuff away,
Right. Living it as the shadow.
living it as a shadow, we either project it out into our environment. So our animals, our loved ones, our earth, our politicians, the famous people, our neighbors, whatever. Or we say, you know what? I'm going to clean up the junk in the trunk. And I'm going to take the witch and I'm going to embody her so that I really get to know her on how she is manipulating my life right now. And so what I'm
Mm.
saying is I'm embodying her so that I can get to know her. They say an enemy means in a me. So you find those enemies inside you and you embody them and you friend them. That's why they say you invite them to dinner and then you eat them. You invite them because you're like, hey, I want to understand why you think this way, and we find that this witch, I'm using my example again, we find the parts inside of us and we say, why are you so doubtful and fearful about going for our dreams? And the witch will tell you. And then you have an opportunity for healing. And when we have an opportunity for healing, we actually then offer that as a trick or treat. It becomes a treat to all humanity. If it doesn't, it tricks us
Mm.
into thinking we're not good enough and we can't do it and we're hopeless.
I love that because then, as that embodiment, we can literally go from door to door. And what I find is that a lot of people are buying candy and eating their own candy and
Yeah,
then
that would
feeling
be me.
stuffed and overwhelmed, right? And
Hmm.
feeling sick on the sugar already and thinking, oh my God, there's more sugar. But we're craving the sweetness as a culture, as individuals on our teams, in our lives, we're craving that
Hmm.
sweetness. Otherwise, this wouldn't be out there in the world. This is exactly the shadow that we're talking about.
Hmm.
So we can look at it at the surface level of just eating the candy and then feeling sick and then not wanting to and then eating more candy and feeling sick and just keep going through that. Or we can take this opportunity to look at what's craving the sweetness.
Hmm.
So embodying, like using your example of the witch, embodying the witch and literally going door to door and being like, what do you need? What do you
That's right.
need? What do you want? What do you need? What do you want? So that you can actually get to know why this part of me is so grumpy and like what
Right.
the need is.
And what a great thing what you say, going door to door, and you're actually practicing asking for help,
Mm,
and you're actually practicing receiving it. So that's doing it from the dark side, like taking that dark side, because there's great gifts. I think if we go in and we talk to our witch or our warlock or our zombie or our mass murderer self part that murders our dreams, right? There's a mass
Right.
murderer in all of us,
Right.
that kills our self-esteem and our self-worth. There like we could act that out and then go, okay, this is a safe place to actually act it out and bring it to the light so that I can find the gifts and the sweetness behind it.
And when I say going door to door, like you're not asking your neighbors to
Right.
literally participate. You could if you have
Yeah.
really, really cool neighbors. For me, like whenever I would get a piece of candy, it would be a symbol or a metaphor for like something that I'm taking into myself. And not that I had actually had to eat it. It was just like I would be grateful and thank the person for this bit of sweetness that they're giving me, you know?
Yeah. And
And
that is
when
a
I can,
practice too of giving
that
out
is a
sweetness.
practice of
Hmm.
allowing that sweetness in my life.
And Rumi says, this human being is a guest house every day, a new arrival.
Mm.
A meanness, a sadness, an unexpected visitor comes to our door. And sometimes you let them in and they violently sweep your house empty of all its furniture. I'll invite them in anyway because they're clearing you out for some new delight. This is Halloween. You're opening the door to all of those shadows and you're meeting them with a sweet heart.
Mm.
And that's the transformation. That's the liberation of that. And it's like, it is a practice for our humanity from beyond, October 31st. What if you could meet the curmudgeon, mean parts that are showing up in ourselves and as well as coming to us in our business or in our lives or relationships, and you meet them with a sweet heart and
Mm.
kindness and ask them, hey, what do you need? I'm here for you.
There are two things that come up for me. One of them is when you say a sweet heart, I think of the candy, the sweet tart,
Yeah.
right? And so, and then I think of like a Snickers. So you could meet it with a Snicker, right? So that's what I mean by taking those
Yep.
candies that you get and literally looking at them as a metaphor. Or what are they? What's a fun interpretation for you and this part of yourself so that you can be in the conversation and it's not some heavy thing and it's a beautiful way of meeting it in the world.
Exactly. And the other part of it, if you don't want to do that dark shadowy aspect, you could also do we put our gifts and our light in the shadow too. Like you might have an artist in you that, as a small child, you were very creative and artistic and someone shamed you, so well, you'll never get a career in that and or you're making everybody else feel so bad on how good your art is, or, those things will go in the shadow too. So you can look at the parts of you that you go, I want to really embody that this year in my
That's interesting
life.
because I said it just now. It's like it makes me think of
Yeah.
two things, and that was the second thing I was thinking of is like maybe you want to be a superhero,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
if you were a superhero, what superhero do you want to embody this year and
Yeah.
why?
And why? Because we do
Hmm.
tend to shove our hero and or parts of ourselves that are there is this golden shadow where we shove our gifts and our strengths into the shadow and we go, oh, I can't do that. That's not okay, et cetera, right? So what is that you're attracted to that's calling you that
Hmm.
that got tucked away, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great opportunity. Such a great opportunity to practice embodying or transforming some part of you that is might be holding you back. Some fear, some, shadowy aspect. And if we can start to actually claim back our shadows, whether they're our golden shadow, our light, or the dark shadow, then we'll actually be given more energy, more healing, more possibility, more creativity. It's amazing how things open up.
So that's interesting because as leaders, that's really kind of important, right? We're like, oh, somebody says you want more energy. You're like, yeah, please. You
Hmm.
want more peace? Yeah, please. You want better teams? Yeah, please. So could you speak a little bit more on why in this moment, because we have this opportunity, is so I will say before I get into that, we do have the veil is thinner meaning that it's easier to see this time of year. That doesn't mean that we can't do this every day of the year.
Oh yeah.
Um, we get to have fun with it and play with it by, embodying a costume, et cetera, et cetera. And it's an ongoing practice. It's a great place to start it. But going back to my question for you is, can you speak more to when you do a practice like this, whether it's for one night or hopefully on an ongoing basis, what do you mean you get more energy? You get more,
Yeah.
peace. You get more all of the stuff that you get out of it. How? Why?
Well, yeah, I actually do make it a daily practice. That is
Mm.
something I do. So when I'm deeply annoyed by something or someone, I know that there's a shadow piece in it for me. Like there's something then that I'm projecting out into the world. And I know many people are saying, no, no, you're perfect. Or that's what we say. Oh no, I'm perfect. And it's about them. That right there, as soon as you said that, if it's black and white, then you're totally in shadow. Um, but even that word cost, you know, it's a cost.
Mm.
We wear costumes all the time. It's like we might be the people pleaser. We might be, like I said, we might be that witch. We might be, if I'm not claiming I'm where I'm really a petty tyrant to myself, where I'm like that little inner narrative is so mean and hostile,
Mm.
I will actually create that in my work life and in my relationship life. There'll always be somebody who's going to try to take power over me because it's teaching me where I need to step into my own inner power inside myself. Because there's a part of myself that's treating myself that way.
And
And
that's
if I keep
where,
looking, yeah,
yeah, doing your inner hero, right? Putting on a
right.
superhero costume might be really powerful for somebody who has an inner petty tyrant because you're not claiming your own hero of your own.
Right. And if I keep looking outside myself, that's going to cost me time and energy
Mm.
because I'm looking for answers instead of going inside and saying, I'm going to find that petty tyrant inside myself. I'm going to find that being that is tearing myself down. And you see, we tend to go inside and we tend to go, that's enough. Don't treat Stephanie that way. That doesn't always work. It's like to go inside and be curious of that part inside yourself and say, I notice you're really tearing me down. What is this about? Like, what
Yeah.
are you needing? Like again, meeting it with sweetness inside yourself, then it's not easy work. This is hard work. But if you can meet it with love and kindness, just like the practice of Halloween, with curiosity and wonder of like, oh, who's at my door now? Oh, you're so scary. and you can meet them and you go, what are you needing right now from me? Not trying to shame them or control them, but as soon as, because they will literally, every part inside of you has a gift to give you. There is
Mhm.
something, just like every, boss or coworker or a client or whatever have you, child is literally teaching you something. And that's the shadow work. Is like, I wonder what they're teaching. What is, what is evolving inside of me? What is being asked of me that I need to start embodying, which would change this outer situation? Because I must have this going on inside.
What I love about this is it takes us past the right, wrong, good, bad.
Yeah.
And
And the shame. Don't let the
it
shame.
right. It reminds me of Einstein's saying about the most important decision that you can make is whether you live in a friendly universe or not. And
Mm-hmm.
if you live in a friendly universe, then everything that shows up in your life is there to help you, whether it's your petty tyrant or, the person who doesn't like you or the person that you're envious of, or,
Mm-hmm.
it's like all of the what we consider junk, the stuff that we want to avoid. If we have decided that we live in a friendly universe, then we can be curious about
Mm-hmm.
that and say, that's here to serve me somehow. How? Talk to me about
Right.
that inner part of me, right? And that's when you said you do the shadow work every day, that I do too. It's that curiosity. And it can be as simple as, not easy, simple,
Definitely not easy.
as asking those questions and reminding ourselves, I do live in a friendly universe. So when, something explodes at work, it's not pointing fingers out there. there is a sense of responsibility. I'm not saying that there
Mhm.
isn't. There's also a piece for me to look at inside. There's
Yeah,
always going to
we
be
can always
something
look
I can
at
look at. Right.
absolutely like what is within me that is attracting that, whatever that is, that person or that thing that's irritating me right now. What is within me that is attracting that? What is calling me to become so that I can overcome this? So one of the part of the practice that I'll do is I'll make a list and I'll say, okay, maybe this person really irritated me. And I might know them, I might not know them. They might be just in the news or something. I'm like, this just drives me crazy. And I'll write it down. I'm like, well, what is it specifically that drives me crazy? And they might be, they're narcissists. They don't care about anybody else but themselves. And they're not looking at the big picture. They're just totally looking at the small little details or micromanagers. I might just make all of those lists. And then, so what I do is I go, okay, that's interesting. Where might I be doing this to someone else?
Mm.
Or where might I be doing this to myself? Am
Yeah.
I treating this to? So I'll go outward and I also go inward. And
Like
if neither one of
where
those
am
really kind
I
of resonate, yeah,
where am I micromanaging someone else?
right.
Where am I micromanaging myself?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it.
Exactly.
And if neither one of those resonates, then I'll say, okay, I see this. What quality would like to see more of? And then, it might be just compassion and
Mm.
a greater vision for what's possible and surrender.
Or more freedom.
Oh, okay, where do I need to practice that more in my life? Oh, heck
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why I look at those three different levels. I either look outward, where am I doing this to someone else? Where am I doing this to myself? Or what is this situation calling for me to become? What do I wish they had more of? And that's often what I need to actually practice.
And that's so powerful for any leader in any situation. Again, not saying that the situation itself doesn't need to be addressed in the outer world, it
Hmm.
does. And what I found for myself is so often when I do this work, what shows up in the outer world looks really different than what I originally saw. So something has shifted.
100%.
Something has shifted, and either a solution is right there, and it's like, oh my God, that's right there. How did I not see it before? I
Hmm.
couldn't see it before because I was in my own way,
Hmm.
right? And, or it gets resolved without my, like there's so many different ways that it gets resolved because the whole purpose, one of the purposes of the issue was for me to look inside because it's a friendly universe. So it's serving me. So when I can actually go in and do that work, then now I'm serving how I came to serve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's so evolutionary, isn't it?
it really is.
And then we grow. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's difficult, but it's actually less traumatic to grow that way. It's actually you can actually be very playful and imaginative. And that's why coming right back to Halloween, what a great opportunity where, it's a collective, community that says, "Hey, let's go out and play. And let's try this on and go for it." I often look at even the shadow of I'll see like young parents and they're taking out their children and to go to Halloween. And the child is too shy to go up to the door and knock on the door or open the door or ask for it. And so the parent goes up and does it for them. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And it's like, I'm off like, oh, that's an interesting shadow part again. It's like, so here's my example. Where do I want to go and carry somebody else's shadow?
Mm,
Because I don't think that they can do it on their own or they're afraid and I haven't empowered them enough to go and do it on their own. And I think coming back to relationships, coming back to soulful leaders, we tend to carry each other's shadow
yeah.
until the other person claims it back for themselves or you say I am no longer going to be that for you. You need to find your own inner witch and take her back because I
Or
am no
inner
longer going to
hero.
walk that in. Yeah, or inner hero, exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting because earlier when you said it's evolutionary, my immediate thought was that's our responsibility as leaders. to be evolutionary. And when I use the word responsibility, I'm using it in the essence of the word. It's our ability to respond. And it's not a title that we put on this leadership thing. It's an ability to respond at an upper level and to keep pushing that upper level so that we are the evolutionaries.
Mm.
And when I look at Halloween as an opportunity for me to do that in a playful way, it just excites me.
Yeah.
So one of the things, if you've already picked out your costume, because I know we're just like right there, Halloween is this week, look at what costume you picked. It probably is not an accident.
Yeah, you can always, yeah, if you happen to be listening to this after Halloween, go back and say, did you embody, a shadow or a light quality? Or maybe you didn't even choose to do it either. And why? What
Yeah.
what made you either choose or not choose? What was that? And so what you're doing is hunting down literally energy that's been bottled up and placed inside of you. So now
Mm.
you're free flowing it. And like I said, costume, allowing yourself to put it in the costume rather than allowing it to cost you
Mm.
and me. That's what costume means.
Mm.
Costing you and me, life force. Put it out
Yeah.
there consciously so that you can transform it.
And putting this at a collective level, the more each of us does this individually, the more we talk about evolution, right? Evolutionary, the more we evolve who we are as a species and on a planet. And we desperately need that right now,
Yeah.
right? The collective shadow that we're carrying, it's huge. It's huge. It's been
Mm-hmm.
passed down to us and passed down to us because people have not been doing this work themselves. So it's time for us to step up and actually take some of it on. And I love doing it in a playful way. Makes it fun.
So great.
Thanks for joining us this week. We look forward to, oh my gosh, please send us some pictures, post some pictures of your costume and what it meant to you on our Facebook page or on our LinkedIn page. Both of them are at Soulful Leaders, or send us an email with it. We would love to hear from you. You can also find us on our business page, which is tslp.life. And do me a favor, share the podcast with somebody that you know. We'll see you all in a couple weeks on the Soulful Leader podcast.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslack. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.